Okay, we're going to have a talk by Alexandre Bourget. He's going to be giving us some whirlwind tour building Google Analytics in 45 minutes. And there's chocolate here if you came late. Let's go.
You there? Okay. So yeah, we're going to build somehow Google Analytics, slimmed down version. So first of all, I'm not going to start before I have 3 questions from the audience. Okay? So anyone raise their hand? I'm waiting for 3 questions.
What's GEVENT?
Okay, thank you. Can you come can you come up here? Please, please. I want another one. Another question here. Who had another question? I ask you if you could please sit on the chair here. Yeah, you have a special role in that. Anyone else? Another question. There's no role for the other ones. I just want another question. Okay, thank you. So I just elected the regulator. So your role here, you want to watch a presentation, and you want to scream out when things are not clear, if they go too fast or you don't understand, okay? Right. And then you kick me in somewhere. Well, if I forget, repeat the question someone asked, okay? And obviously you can scream out if things are very joyful. Joy. Okay? So you can do that? So slides here are up at slides.bourget.net. Okay, you can go there actually right now, and they're really live. You're going to see something interesting if you want to go there. So who I am? Worked at a free software consulting company called Savoir-Faire Linux in Montreal, and we were sponsored from Montreal Python and did help out the Montreal Python community. And Montreal, yeah. Now I work at a startup recently doing some quality score optimization for AdWords campaigns. So the premise for that talk is, well, we need insights, we need some analytics, so let's build something that's going to be useful to show off. And we're actually not using those things yet in our platform, but okay. So today we're going to see very briefly GEVENT-SOCKETIO, which is this Socket.io implementation. We're going to use a pyramid app to show that off because we're going to code it from scratch, and AngularJS integration plus some D3 sweetness. A little bottle integration, and a bit too much JavaScript. Sorry for that, it's kind of a web stuff, but raise your hand who does web or ever touched JavaScript here. Okay, so I guess it's going to be appealing anyway. So, and you guys ask question, okay? So I want you to interrupt me and what is that bullshit you're showing off? And so we're going to pilot server-side processes with a front-end control, right? So like an HMI in engineering. And we're also going to track live site usage that you guys are going to produce, and we're going to graph it here, okay? And we're going to code what's required to do that. So, questions up till this point? So what is GEVENT?
What is GEVENT? Okay,
so I have a small slide here. GEVENT is a cooperative concurrency model implemented on top or wired into Python, which allows us to have micro-threads that use one system thread, avoids the costly context switching from the system, and allows you to spin thousands of tiny greenlets. And when you spun it this way with spun, this gets run in a kind of another thread, and then you can join back on those things, and you'll get all the values. But basically, you're doing threading here, right? Monkey patches. You can monkey patch the system, the threading libraries, so that you really have some cool micro-thread wavering. Okay, so that's GEVENT. We're going to build things on top of that. I'm not going to tell that much more about that. Okay, GEVENT-SOCKETIO is an implementation started by Jeffrey, and we took back with John Anderson and myself at PyCon 2012 at the sprints. And actually, I highly suggest you go to the sprints. That was the best part of the PyCon, being with people and coding on stuff. So we revamped it because it was for a previous version of Socket.io. Raise your hand if you know Socket.io. Okay, so latest versions support namespace, which avoids a lot of duplication in everyone's implementation because we need to pass message types and everything. And I wrote previously the pyramid Socket.io thing, but it's dead because it's all now in GEVENT-SOCKETIO, and now it's a cross-browser framework. It's a cross-framework library, so you can use that with Django, Flask, Bottle, whatever, pyramid, of course. And all the functionality is in there. I highly encourage the Django guys to do something like that and to build things that are in a cross framework. Anyway, okay, so we're going to start this way. I did that already, so we have all the pip installed. That's a dependency for GEvent. We're going to have the GEvent, the SOCKETIO thing, and a sub-process so that it's green. That allows to yield control back to the hub. Okay? And off-road we go. So I'm going to activate the environment here, and we're going to create a starter project, okay? Type starter. I'm going to call that moo. So there's going to be a little bit of boilerplate here. I'm going to take out, so if you've ever seen a pyramid project, that's a pyramid project. Static files, there's a view file here. I can show you with the mouse, so that screen gets grabbed. And there's basically two files. Those are the views, main config files. So that's the main config. So it sets a route, creates the WSGI app, and has a static support. And the views is just a basic function, which right now just sends us to a template. Okay? So, whoop, too many things open here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to set up that thing. And I'm going to serve it. Okay? And from this place, we're just going to have a running app. I'm going to try that out. We have it in the standard pyramid app. So first thing I'm going to ditch is all the static things. I'm going to put HTML5 boilerplate underneath. And okay, we're going to call that one serve. Okay. Here. Okay, and we're going to go and delete whatever static stuff there was. And also the templates. And we're going to copy HTML5 over the index to moo templates actually, okay, and all the CSS.javascript.mng stuff to moo static RV. Okay, so we have those files there. So the next time we load this, I'm going to fix a couple of little boilerplates. Okay, so we're going to want to modify the development.ini. That's Emacs, yes. So we have in moo views, we're going to change that for index.html, and also we'll want to add that, I'm going to use tech in Mako here, renderer, so for HTML files, that's going to be pyramid renderer dot, no, Mako dot, what is it? Renderer factory. Okay. And a little last thing, we're going to give the directories for Mako, yeah, boilerplate. Okay? Things should reload. Mako render, Mako templating. Okay? Here. Okay, so this is HTML5 boilerplate. And I'm going to go open that file. Templates, index, and then that's where we're going to, let me just take out analytics. It doesn't stop my thing here. And that's going to be our code here. Okay? So div id wrap. There you go. Next thing, we're going to wire in AngularJS, which I proudly wore the shirt. They sent me that because I was doing that talk, and it was really fun. Google builds AngularJS. So we're going to go and add, okay, things are clear up to this point. You following? Things are, we're going to add I'm going to actually go and grab that static JS vendor Angular min.js, okay? And I'm not sure I have internet connection. I'm just going to copy that from a Angular here. Where is that? Yeah, it should be there. Copy Angular min. We're going to put that in moo static JS vendor. Okay? I'm going to open a window for that. Okay, back to templates. Now I'm going to wire, so we need to, with Angular, we're going to say this full page, even though we load the JS, doesn't do anything, we're going to mark this full page as an app, an ng app. And that ng app thing, we're going to call, because you can have many apps in one page, we're going to call this one moo, okay? And we're going to write the JavaScript that's necessary for that. I'm adding support for old crafty stuff here. Okay, and we're going to add a marker that this here, we want it to be a controller. Okay, and it's going to be moo controller. And we're going to go in static main and create, well, I'm ahead of myself right now. I'm going to just add a couple of CSS main. I'm not going to type those, don't worry. Okay, so moo CSS, so that things appear a little bit better. Okay, just a couple of body wrap. This is going to be used by Angular for another thing. Otherwise, it's just simple. Those are going to actually style the graph because it's SVG. You with me? Okay, enough boilerplate. So, okay, we're going to add that controller now. Okay, Angular, we're going to create the module named moo, and Angular has its own dependency system. So you define modules, and those modules can have dependencies, and it builds that when you trigger the app, when you run it, okay? So you can declare all those module components in all sorts of different files. They get aggregated, and dependencies are injected. So it's a very awesome thing. And then we define a controller called moo controller, which is a function that takes a scope, okay? And if we're in here, we're in. Okay? Get that? So if I refresh here, we're in. Whoa, okay? You got it? So because we have the ng app stuff, the JavaScript is executed, it finds out, it runs, it hooks automatically, finds ng app, and then loads the module that's in ng controller. It runs the code, okay? So just a quick note about that scope thing. It's actually, the scope is a simple object that will be attached to the node in the DOM. And you can have nested scopes where you attach, little objects to the node at a different hierarchical situation. So essentially Angular will allow us to be data-driven more than like binding and then inserting with all those DOM manipulation things. It does the templating thing by itself. So just to show you that, since we're going to use it, let's say I have hello world here, and I want to say hello, well, who? I can add that little Stufi here, whatever that means. And who would be mama, see? So if I go on the other side, I just define a variable on the other side. See that? Okay. So you probably saw the fook, right? The flash of unstyled content. Because Angular is ran after. That's why we have that ng cloak. It just hides thing until it's ready, and then it shows them up. Okay? So for the style, for the beauty, we're going to add, oops, cloak. Get it? Now it appears when it's ready, and we got that there. Okay? But even, you have a question? What is it? No, okay, because you almost. Okay, over here, let's add a two-way binding. So we have an input type text, oops, an ng model, which is going to link that stuff to the local scope. So the scope is on the ng controller, just a little bit higher up. And we have like interpretation there, and we have linking. So when we go in here, well, we have a variable that's set as a value, and it's all the ways, So you deal with those bindings once, and then you can just use data. So that's the fun part of Angular. And that's going to power a lot of things in there, because we're just going to send some data to our system, and it's going to show things, right? Yeah, it's pretty nice, huh? Okay. So the mama thing works. The fook works. Okay, now we're going to strap in GEVENT-SOCKETIO, okay? And it's actually not going to be so complicated, because we're just going to go and change the server. See, GEVENT has its own super optimized, very fast WSGI server that we will use instead of waitress here. And it is green in the sense that it yields control to the correct place, uses one system thread. This is going to monkey patch things for us, so we're going to use GEVENT-SOCKETIO. And there's a little paster function that does the job for you, wiring that into paster. That's the pyramid stuff. So otherwise, when you run the Django thing, you just call the server yourself, right? There's all sorts of examples for Django users. I'm not a Django user. Okay, otherwise, the server is restarted. Okay, I'll show you here. And now it's laying on GEVENT-SOCKETIO, which I previously installed. Okay, it was in the environment. That's it. But this adds a couple of options. We can say transports over here and say, well, for WebSocket, and we can say policy server, which is a piece of junk because it's just to support Flash and it has 3 seconds delay. So anyway, transports, and you can list which transport you use, and those are the best. You know, you can choose to first and foremost use that. Facebook uses that; it's everywhere, and it works in all the browsers. And fall back on WebSocket if someone doesn't have, or go the other way around and previously check for WebSockets. Otherwise fall back on the XHR polling. Okay, the server restarts, and things are all right. Any questions? Everything is clear? You good? Yeah.
Can you talk for a second about how the GEVENT, or how you work with GEVENT and the various web frameworks? Like I know specifically.
Yeah, well, the repository has examples for all of those frameworks. So Django, Flask. I have a bottle example I can show you at the end. We're going to code the pyramid stuff. So.
I thought there were parts of some of those frameworks that weren't specifically database drivers. Aren't there problems with that?
So yeah, okay, but those are different problems. So not everything is green, right?
Yeah.
Not everything supports greenlets, but that's out of the scope here. But a good question. You had a question? Okay, later. Okay, now we're going to integrate Socket.io in there. So 2 components we're going to need to load the JavaScript thing. We're going to wire in, call that JavaScript from inside our code. There's actually a little Angular wrapper that's very neat because it, you get data and updates everything in your face without having to call those update DOM nodes. And then the server-side parts where we actually handle the back and forth communication. Okay, this really transforms the web because you don't think is that I'm going to grab or I'm going to post something anymore. It's really live. Okay, so we're going to copy that Socket.io stuff, vendor Socket.io to moo static vendor. Okay, and index. So we're going to Angular, copy that Socket.io. Is that it? Socket.io. Okay. So this should load the thing. You with me here? So it loads. There's no error. And now we're going to go and do the integration in this beast here. So I think I have a little snippet. That will just scaffold. Those are the 2 little functions that are used for Socket.io integration. So the factory thing, that's awesome because it defines a service, and you can use that service. It's going to be instantiated only once per app, and you're going to use it by dependency injection. So you define it here, and at some other place, for example, here, you're going to ask for it. And that, it's just a convention, that $, it's not PHP. It's going to actually go and grab that object the first time a controller asks for Socket.io, okay? Which is very neat, and yeah. Angular's dependency injection is cool. So it's a little wrapper, and you see those things that I like apply, and it just wraps Socket.io so that it triggers that dirty checking of the variable so that it updates everything. Okay? So we'll be able to do something like Socket.io.on sign, for example. We're going to be sending a sine wave here. So got sign data. Whoa, data. You didn't note it. You didn't tell me. Aren't you doing anything?
I thought you were going to do something.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you have to alert me if things are wrong. I'm going to switch. Okay. And then over here, we're going to send an event. So, for example, boo with, I don't know, blah. Okay? So that's the client-side part. And then on the server-side part, oops, views here. Well, over here, we're going to want to integrate, and you'll see it's not so fatty. Oh, wait a second. I need to a little tweak here. We're actually going to use a namespace. So that's the Socket.io, raw Socket.io specific thing that's happening here, right? That's what Socket.io.min defines, connect. We're going to use a namespace here just to simplify things. And it's going to be stat. So you can connect to a virtual endpoint like that. Well, you know Socket.io. Okay. And over here, we're going to, okay, we're going to define how we're going to hook any incoming calls to Socket.io, okay? And it's all dealt in the same app that handles the other CSS serving or REST API serving as Pyramid. It's same for other frameworks, okay? So we're going to go in here, and we're going to define a new route, actually. And we're going to add the route. So that's the name of the route here, and the route is going to be remaining. And that's going to match anything starting with Socket.io, and star remaining just grabs anything, including slashes, because the protocol, there's a session ID in there, and there's the transport, so there's a couple of slashes in there. It just grabs everything and sends it to the view that's going to register with that route name. Oops. Get it? Okay. Socket.io, get a request. And then we pass, so that it doesn't, no, okay. Now we're going to introduce the little handler. So you, from Socket.io, which is provided by GEVENT-SOCKETIO, you import the manage function. And you just call it with the environment. That's how we're, framework agnostic. And we're going to pass a little structure about which namespaces are going to be handled by which object. Okay, and we're going to create a stat namespace, and we have the option also to pass on the request so that our namespace can handle the actual, can tag to the actual request. So that's a random object. You pass whatever you want to that request. It's not even required. Okay, and up here, I do the imports close to the code so that I don't need to skip back and forth, okay? And up there, I'm going to import, base namespace, okay, and define the stat namespace with base namespace, and initialize the first method, init, okay? Should restart, shouldn't crash. Did it crash? No, good, everything is good. Okay, do you think that's enough? So we added the handler. You think it's gonna work? It's like a magic, yeah, no. Okay, so we're in. Do we get any connection on the server side? Oh, so we get init, which is initialized, and now we get no such method on boo, because you remember on the client side, we sent the event boo. Don't you remember? There, emit boo. So how we're going to handle that is actually to add, we're going to add on boo. And we can print boo, and we can ourselves emit boo back. Well, never mind that, okay? We're going to...
You got a semicolon in Python.
Shoot, that's bad. Glad you catch that. But it's not a... Yeah, okay, it is, okay. So, we get boo. Actually, we get data. We can print boo data, show that we can transfer some data from one side to the other. See, we get the blah thing we got on the other side. It's automatically wrapped and unwrapped to JSON, so Socket.io abstracts that from you. Okay, now we're going to do something like we're going to draw a sine wave there. How am I on time? All right, shoot. Okay, it goes fast. Okay, let's go. It's going to be faster now. Now I want the server to send some data continuously to the client, right? That's what makes all the thing cool. Is that the server can notify, push things at good speeds. Is that finished? Remaining init. Okay, we emit sign here. So over here I had emit sign, and so pass it a value of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's going to be the other way around. So whatever. What if I have here scope sign like waiting, and when I get that, I say sign equals data value, right? You with me? So from the server I'm sending the thing, and then I'm going to show that up. Hello world. Okay, sign. Oh, see that? So it came from the server. Okay, now let's make that more interesting. Let's have the server actually populate things all the time. Okay, so we're going to define a job. So job is not a prefix, just a convention I'm using right now. Nothing from GEVENT-SOCKETIO is hooked to that. And it's going to be to send sign signal, okay? And it's going to use that to emit sign stuff with value and things here, okay? So just a stub. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to loop indefinitely. You can tell I'm not an English speaker, right? I don't native English. So we're going to import time here because I'm going to want to draw the sign according to time, for example. I'm going to import math. Okay. Yes. It's not pep 8. You're going to say. You say nothing, man.
No,
you're going to lose points.
Pep 8, you're not going to lose points.
Okay. And then we're going to syn tm, right? Does that work? No. Is that tuple's not closed? Emit, put. And over here, we're going to sleep for 1 second, right? I'm going to import GEVENT a little bit higher because that wouldn't be very proper. Huh? See? Save that. Okay. So now, what's happening? I define the job, but I want to launch that job. And you'll notice the tremendous change in things that PHP will never be able to do. That's going to be a long-running process. It's going to stay there on the server side, corresponding to the browser that's open, and it can do stuff while, even though it's using, well, you know Socket.io, right? It's abstracted, so even you're polling, it's still running. It's not interrupted. So we're going to span that job, and GEVENT-SOCKETIO helps you a little bit with the GEVENT stuff by allowing you to span the job, but keep a track of the greenlets. So if the socket dies, it kills all the other little greenlets that were associated with that one. So if I do this, oh, see? I just reloaded it. So now we start getting some live data from the process. Okay, sweet, huh? Now, what if we want to do okay. What if you want Now, what if we want to have, whoa, what is that? 8, 7, speed control. Okay, we want to graph that because that's where we're heading, right? How much time I have left?
You got like 15 minutes.
15, shoot, okay. A bit more, okay, good.
17.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm going to go in the main, and there's awesome things that you have in Angular which are called directive. And you can define things like this, the directive, and you can use a new tag, which is going to be tied and wired with functionalities of awesome. And see here, we're going to pass in the live data is going to be just an attribute of scope, right? It's data, so it's an object. And that beast down there, it's some D3 integration, is going to live update if that data changes. Okay? It's very cool. So I'm going to take that little snippet here, bring it to this place. I'm going to add a couple of little things here with 700. Hey, what is that? What is that supposed to be? 200? Okay, so my little widget is made to handle these things. And I'll be able to eventually, so it's not showing up because I need data. See, because I said live data here, well, I'm going to initialize my little code here with, oops, live, let's call it live sign, okay? Because data is overloaded. An empty list here, and once we get some data, we're just going to push data value, right? Wouldn't that be cool? We just push it in, and what's that? Okay, there's an error. D3. Oh, who the? I didn't look.
Sorry.
Of course. Yeah, you didn't see. No, it's all right. I mean, it's my presentation. So we'll need that here, and we'll need to copy the beast, D3, to move static JS event, right? Okay. Now, this whole thing works. Okay, so you see the graph? Data arrives, but now, okay, that's the process. That's fun. No, stop, please. Shh. So we want to control that. We want to control the speed of that thing. It's 1 second. We might want to increase the rate, right? So why don't we design a little button up there that will allow us to switch the speed, like a select, linked to the model on the speed attribute with a couple of options, for example, 005 to make it fast, or 002 or 0, I don't know, 1, and then, well, no, 0.5 here, and then 1, then 2, right? What about that? But I want to initialize that speed. If I just load that, the speed being bound is not, it has nothing in there. So let's initialize that thing, speed equals to 1, and then it should, right? I'd like to control the speed here. Let's add a label. You didn't tell me anything. I didn't put a label. No, it's a farce. It's a farce. Okay, So you get that? But now what I want to do is actually, when someone changes that, I want to send a signal to the server that's going to modify the behavior of the running process. Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, you get it. OK. So we're going to go and add a little, whoa, it's an indentation error. What is that? No, OK, it's the end of the controller. So we're going to watch a change on the speed. And when there's a new val, we're going to, do something. For example, socket.io emit new speed with the new val, right? You do that too, right? Yeah, of course. So we're going to go here. And the thing to change is the sleep, right? We want to accelerate speed. So we'll want to have a kind of a variable that's initialized. And conveniently, we have the session object, which is just a plain dictionary attached to that virtual socket, on which you can have many namespaces. So this is shared between the namespaces of a single connection, OK? So we'll have here, like, for example, speed, which has a default value of 1. And if we get the message diff on, on new speed, whoo, shoot, man. New speed, and then we're going to change self-session. It's getting late. And float new speed. You get the idea, right? OK, we get that here. OK, do you think that's going to work? Is that sufficient, right? We just inject a couple of little line of data. That's ridiculous. So if I have that, and then I change the speed. Oh, I have to go. No. No, I want to see it. And I change, oh, yes, sir. So you see, it sends it out. And you can have great speeds. That's with polling. If we have 0.5, see, it's very nice. We can have very fast data coming in, right? Cool. OK, so let's leave that apart. Now, what we want to actually do is to have you guys go to this address, which is where is that? Pres, oh, shoot. Oh, there. Your clickable moo. OK, go to that place. OK, on any of your connected device, you're actually going to go through EC2, through my OpenVPN network, you're going to get it to my machine. And there's a little app there to test your skills. And that's what we're going to use as input to graph who are losers and winners in that room. And those are all like, they're testing if you're a real geek and know those. Yeah. They're actually not very good, but anyway. You get that moo.abourget.net. Memorize. There's no complicated letters like a Google with a CPD, FH. OK? moo.abourget.net. Get it? So this runs a simple application that's in here. That's actually a bottle app that'll get those events, put them in that out thing, add the winner or loser, and put them to the file that's up there, a little file. It's just a clickable.log. Thank you. OK? And it's going to flush that. So we want an application that's going to actually go and tail that file. Those are the input. We're going to tail what's getting into it, send the data to the front end, and then graph those things, right? Real time. So obviously, I'm not going to code the JavaScript part in your face. But you understand I have another graph, right? And this one is going to be named my live graph. The name is completely... And we're going to use it this way here. My live graph data. No, that's not even true. What is that junk? OK. So we're going to use it this way, which I'm going to tell you. OK. So loser is going to be here. OK. And that's going to be actually, where's that thing? Oh, we're done with that. We're done with that, too. OK, the bar graph. Oh, it's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. See, wrong sheet. It's not a live graph. It's the other graph. So it's going to be actually my bar graph, which name is even better. OK, and we're going to have the types and data here. So we're going to grab those things. We're going to have winners underneath, and we're going to have page views, which is another type, OK? Page views, OK, and here we're going to have winner. Get it? OK, so this works the same thing. It's going to use click data here. So we're going to create that click data, which is going to be empty at first, and then, well, the init can start sending data in, right, once it's ready. So we just need to code the server part. No, wait a second. We need to code that. Let's go on click data. Is that a thing? On click here. And function when I get the data. Obviously, same thing as before. OK, you with me? No, actually, it's to be like different. The app is not just a click. It's the clickable app. It's a branding thing.
See, that's why he picked me.
Yeah, I should have picked that boy. OK, no, you're a great selection, actually. I'm very happy you're there. Yeah.
I got your.
OK, so views here. We're going to send another job. So let's define that. Job send click data. OK, something like that. And this one here is going to, how long do I have? Am I right?
You have 7. You have 8 minutes.
8? Plenty of time. OK, so we're going to import the GEvent subprocess, which is a green version of the subprocess thing. And we're going to create a subprocess popen, and we're going to open tail with the moo clickable, right, log thing. And we're going to preload 100 lines so that we can see what people did in the previous. And we're going to extend it out to a pipe so that we can read it dynamically. OK, and the rest is a little bit ugly, but that's how it goes. And we're going to loop, because we don't want the thing to be blocking, right? So we'll have kind of a little construct that we would necessarily abstract in generator. You would do that, right? It's just not the way it's done here. So that you can read. So we'll get click data here, and that's going to be the line. And we're just going to send that out. Whoa. That's going to be the line here. I won't forget to import JSON. Otherwise, someone is going to complain. If not you, the compiler.
I was about to.
No, of course. The compiler's there, don't worry. OK, so you tried that one? That's the moo app. So if I click there, see, runs on localhost. Where does it work? Did you get to that? Yeah. And then you click those answers, and we'll find out if you're a loser or a winner. OK? So we have this data here. See? Loser. Not so good. See, a lot of losers. Winner, we got a couple of winners, yeah. OK. So we're going to grab that data, send it over. Actually, are we done already? That's it? That's all we need? Oh, no, we need to span the job, right? Where's that? Span. So self job, send click, right? Oops. Emacs craft. OK. So what if we go here and we reload? We didn't see the graphs yet. If it just works all the way, it's going to be just too easy. But no method on. So which line? Line 10. So who? Scope. Oh, that's wrong. See? We're talking to socket.io here. We want to bind to socket.io, and we get something here. And we can log that. Click data. Right? To see if there's anything coming in. See, I got a bunch of click data. You think it's on screen somewhere? Woohoo! So we got those graphs. Who's in there? Oh, the guy's just tapping. He's not answering questions. Who's the one? Like, see? So in proportion, if you just do that, you make everyone feel like 2 times more loser than winner, statistically. So you get those things here. You get the page views, and they're updated live. OK. You can do that. Isn't it cool? Is there a part of that you would like to see? You know, I skipped a lot. The D3 thing I don't show. Maybe the wash. These are Angular stuff. Maybe they're interesting, but they're not directly Python related. So I have a little other thing to show you. No? Any questions? You're satisfied? I'm going to put this chocolate afterwards. OK. So I'm going to show you actually the slides here. So you might have noticed on your machines that they move with me, right? So I have a little part that, so I have control. You can switch whatever you want, but it gets back to me. And I'm going to show you the code for that because it's a neat little bottle integration. So it's in slides, app sync. See, the presenter IP, that's me. So I have that little namespace which emits there's a global last slide thing here. Maybe I show. You don't capture me on here, huh? Right? You capture the screen. So the global. So if I change it once, anyone coming back to the app is going to grab the latest value, so it's going to be brought to where I was. And otherwise, I just save the position. And there's that neat little broadcast event, not me, which is absolutely named in a bastard way, but I mean, it's clear, right? It has that. And that comes from the broadcast mixin. So the moment you're doing real-time stuff like that, you're going to have issues with scaling. Can I have two servers that are going to broadcast to all the users if they're not on the same server? This is one instance. And even on one server, you might want to have different instances of GEvent and like with GUnicorn. So you can easily tack on things like that. I'm going to show you the code for broadcast mixin. It's actually very simple, but you can go and it's documented. In BLD, sorry, GEVENT-SOCKETIO here, and you'll have in. So the rooms mixin and the broadcast, which just adds two little functions. Broadcast event, it creates an internal packet that's going to be sent through Socket.io, and we just loop through the socket, go through the socket to get to the server, loop all the sockets, and then send the packet, right? So it's very simple, and you can easily create that Redis broadcast thing or MongoDB broadcast, and it's isolated. You can tack it on or not to your different classes. So that's the model that was chosen here. We can have other models, and the event.me will simply checks if it's not my socket. And up there, is that fun? Up there we have the rooms thing, which just adds to the session the rooms you're in and then sends it out to those in the same room, right? So it's very simple code, and that was mostly for a demonstration purpose, because to show how we use GEVENT-SOCKETIO in the internal stuff. but you can do that. And so did I show the code here? So yeah. So that's the bottle integration. So 3 pages here. 1, page down, page down. That's all for GEVENT-SOCKETIO app running on bottle. Down there you have the socket server initialization. Those little things up here. In the middle, serving static files. Okay, thank you. And up there, you have the handling of the messaging. Isn't that cool? Okay, so do you have any questions? Whoa, I lost Mozilla. Okay. So that's it. I hope you appreciate it. I appreciate constructive feedback. I might give that talk some other time. So if you have things that you saw that was too bastardish to show to people, so you can just tell me. Otherwise, thank you. I do take questions now, since you weren't very prolific during the talk.
One question, why GEvent? Like, what's so special about the green threads that makes that more possible than using like Python threads built in?
Okay, so the simple answer to that is that system threads are heavy, right? You can't, there's an amount of things you can scale with system threads. Greenlets are very lightweight. That's it. So that's the big issue, you know. So you can, just like Node.js can spin a lot of different sockets because of the way it's doing, it's listening on the poll or select, I don't remember what. You know, it can go and not stick to one blocking thing. And also the cooperative concurrency allows you to have a more linear way of thinking. You can yield the control to another greenlet, which is awesome. You can decide the order, and it's never going to be cut in the middle of you don't know where, because the system took off the control, right? The one piece of code is just going to run and it's self-dispatch. And that makes it very cool. So it also means in one system, in one program you're running, there's only one code path that's existing at a time. You stop PDB stop, set trace, nothing runs. So you can introspect and verify what's happening at that damn point without saying, oh shit. But there's that problem because concurrency is continuing that part of the code, right? So there's a lot of advantages. And also, it makes that very fast, spinny Node.js thing a breeze. You have the performance side, because really GEVENT is performance-wise the equivalent to Node.js. And also, you get the simple, linear programming I showed. You define functions, and with the GEVENT sleep, you yield control back. So if you're doing some heavy stuff, you can yield control back at some points, but you know where you yield control, and there's less chances that you hit kind of two processes changing the dictionary at the same time, right? Because there's only one piece of Python code that runs at once.
Thank you.
That's it. That's a short answer. Any other question?
What's monkey patching?
Okay, monkey patching goes and wires in that G-event loop stuff inside, for example, socket. So socket.receive is going to wait and block. That's what you have normally. So G-event goes and wires in some sleep stuff in there, so that when it blocks on I/O, it actually goes back to the routing and comes back and just verify if there's information. So it never blocks. So that's why it's very fast.
So how do you do that with like C extensions?
So C extensions are going to be a problem for that, because then you're yielding control and then it's not coming back, right? So that's why a lot of things were, for example, MySQL. It's a re-implementation of MySQL. Pure Python, it's way faster because you're running that on GEVENT for all sorts of reasons, because it's not blocking. So yeah, so pure Python become very attractive in that case. And otherwise, things need to be green. That's what, that's what you... Good question for the last, for being there. Thanks for being there. Other questions? Yes?
Last one.
Can you provide a recipe for how to do this? I know you're
So
taking this-
all of that is on GitHub, and I'm going to digest and write the comments I told you as blog posts, like I did for the previous version, and hopefully the video is going to be up. So yes, there's going to be a tutorial, but at least, people say that, oh, I'm going to put the slides up, and they never do. But right now, I really forced myself to put those. Everything you just saw is right now on GitHub, so you can go right now. So you can introspect. There's no comments, obviously, but I'm going to try and give you tutorials about that. The examples of GEVENT-SOCKETIO, actually, they're plentiful. There's small, the big, the Redis thing, I don't know, there's like 8 fully fledged examples.
This set of
Yeah, I understand. The D3, I'm going to push the D3 alone and explain Angular stuff. Yeah, cool technologies. But it's dead because it's all now in GEVENT-SOCKETIO, and now it's a cross-browser framework. It's a cross-framework library, so you can use that with Django, Flask, Bottle, whatever, Pyramid, of course. And all the functionality is in there. I highly encourage the Django guys to do something like that, and to build things that are in a cross-framework. Anyway, okay, so we're going to start this way. I did that already, so we have all the pip installed. That's the dependency for GEVENT. We're going to have the GEVENT, the SOCKETIO thing, and a subprocess so that it's green. That allows to yield control back to the hub. Okay? And off-road we go. So I'm going to activate the environment here, and we're going to create a starter project, okay? Type starter. I'm going to call that Moo. So there's going to be a little bit of boilerplate here. I'm going to take out, so if you've ever seen a pyramid project, that's a pyramid project. Static files, there's a view file here. I can show you with the mouse, so that screen gets grabbed. And there's basically 2. We're going to use a pyramid app to show that off, because we're going to code it from scratch. And AngularJS integration plus some D3 sweetness, a little bottle integration, and a bit too much JavaScript. Sorry for that, it's kind of a web stuff, but raise your hand who does web or ever touched JavaScript here. Okay, so I guess it's going to be appealing anyway. So, and you guys ask question, okay? So I want you to interrupt me and like, what is that bullshit you're showing off? And so we're going to pilot server-side processes with a front-end control, right? So like an HMI in engineering. And we're also going to track live site usage that you guys are going to produce, and we're going to graph it here, okay? And we're going to code what's required to do that. So, questions up till this point? So what is GEVENT?
What is GEVENT?
Okay, so I have a small slide here. GEVENT is a cooperative concurrency model implemented on top or wired into Python, which allows us to have micro-threads that use one system thread, avoid the context, the costly context. Here you want to watch a presentation, and you want to scream out when things are not clear, if they go too fast or you don't understand, okay? And then you kick me in somewhere. Well, if I forget to repeat the question someone asked, okay? And obviously you can scream out if things are very joyful.
Joy.
Okay? So you can do that. So slides here are up at slides.aborget.net. Okay, you can go there actually right now, and they're really live. You're going to see something interesting if you want to go there. So who I am? Worked at a free software consulting company called Ça va faire Linux in Montreal. And we were sponsored from Montreal Python and did help out the Montreal Python community. And the Montreal, yeah. Now I work at a startup recently doing some quality score optimization for AdWords campaigns. So the premise for that talk is, well, we need insights, we need some analytics, so let's build something that's going to be useful to show off. And we're actually not using those things yet on our platform, but OK. So today we're going to see very briefly GEVENT, GEVENT-SOCKETIO, which is this Socket.io implementation, switching from the system, and allows you to spin thousands of tiny greenlets. And when you spun it this way with spun, this gets run in a kind of another thread, and then you can join back on those things, and you'll get all the values. But basically, you're doing threading here, right? It monkey patches. You can monkey patch the system, the threading libraries, so that you really have some cool micro thread wavering. OK, so that's GEVENT. We're going to build things on top of that. Not going to tell that much more about that. OK, GEVENT, Socket.io is an implementation started by Jeffrey. And we took back with John Anderson and myself at PyCon 2012 at the sprints. And actually, I highly suggest you go to the sprints. That was the best part of the PyCon, being with people and coding on stuff. So we revamped it because it was for a previous version of Socket.io. Raise your hand if you know Socket.io. OK. So latest versions support namespace, which avoids a lot of duplication in everyone's implementation because we need to pass message types and everything. And I wrote previously the pyramid Socket.io thing.
Okay, we're going to have a talk by Alexandre Bourget. He's going to be giving us some whirlwind tour building Google Analytics in 45 minutes. And there's chocolate here if you came late. Let's go.
You there? OK. So yeah, we're going to build somehow Google Analytics, slimmed down version. So first of all, I'm not going to start before I have 3 questions from the audience. OK? So anyone raise their hand? I'm waiting for 3 questions.
What's GEVENT?
OK, thank you. Can you come up here? Please, please. I want another one. Another question here. Who had another question? I ask you if you could please sit on the chair here. Yeah, you have a special role in that. Anyone else? Another question. There's no role for the other ones. I just want another question.
Why is the sky blue? Any question?
OK, thank you. So I just elected the regulator. So your role here